So my name is Emory. I am a rising senior at Harvard. I'm studying government and sociology. I am from Marietta, Georgia, which is right outside Atlanta. I am brought to the field of homelessness after starting an outreach organization in Atlanta in 2019 when I was a sophomore in high school. And so ever since I started that organization, I was really ill-informed at the time and kind of treated it as a, say, charitable giving impulse. But as I met a lot of people, both service providers and people actually experiencing homelessness, I totally transformed how I view the problem as kind of an individual problem to a kind of structural issue. And so I began to approach my street outreach differently. I began to approach how I get involved with homelessness, allowing me to move more into research and policy to influence, both systemic change and ease the burden of, people's homelessness. And so that kind of led me to a lot of the work I did in high school and led me to Harvard, where I continue to do a lot of research and policy and then direct service with homelessness. I direct the street outreach at a homeless shelter in the area, and so continue to involve myself in efforts. As I've continued to be involved in this field, I've developed more robust relationships with people who are unhoused. I've grown to understand the problem from the people experiencing the issues perspective more. So really critiquing how shelters work and how they're actually very distasteful to a lot of people who are unhoused, and how a lot of, say, outreach or other housing programs are just kind of ways to fuel the nonprofit industrial complex. So as I began to really understand that and see that we were managing homelessness as opposed to ending homelessness, that led me to begin researching social movements led by the unhoused who have been saying this for years, but now they're finally being listened to. And specifically, I saw homeless unions. It was kind of the National Union of the Homeless was active from the around 84 to the early to mid 90s. They did a lot of amazing things, housing takeovers, pushed for a right to vote for people without fixed addresses, got meetings with Director of HUD Jack Kemp, marches across the city, chapters across the country, thousands of people involved. And so those were the things that I saw when I did my research and did archival work on them. But after they disappeared for 2 decades, they were revitalized and were reinstituted in 2019 with the Poor People's Campaign to call for a moral revival. With that kind of conference convention 2019, you began to see homeless unions sprouting up across the country, bringing the attention and voice back to the unhoused to lead this movement and kind of have them bring forth the solutions as opposed to an outsider who has never experienced the issue. And there was a homeless union that started in Atlanta and that I was observing, and I was at school at the time, but I was closely following it. But then it dissolved within about 8 months after it was started, and they achieved some outcomes, but not as much as other unions. And then I kind of compared that with homeless unions, specifically the ones in California that have accomplished a lot, lasted for years. Like the Salinas homeless union has lasted, for over 8 years or so. So, I really saw this dichotomy in homeless social movement organizations, and which led me to want to pursue my undergraduate thesis on the resurgence of these unions and what determines or influences organizational viability of them. And so long story short, that was my thesis report, and so I took to social media online to try and find the organizers who were doing this, who would be willing to speak with me, a college student, and lo and behold, I found Wes White, who's been tirelessly organizing with the Salinas Monterey County Homeless Union. He was really the major person who was open to speaking with me and talking with me about his experience organizing. He's probably the most active person on social media I've seen, and being very public with his videos that are kind of providing an oversight that is not seen with the government. And so I kind of noticed all the work he was doing and all the power and passion that he has for organizing. And so I reached out to him, and luckily he took the chance to kind of bring me across the state. And yeah, that's how I met Wes. And it's been an incredible trip, and visited 9 different cities, many different homeless unions, a number of incredible organizers and unhoused activists who have accomplished a lot with the little resources they have and support they're given. And it's incredible, and I'm hoping that my research brings more attention to the issue and demonstrates that this is a movement that warrants attention from academics, scholars, service providers, policymakers, people themselves, etc. And so that's kind of the goal of my research and kind of what I've kind of hoped to do from now on. We started out in Fresno. We went to Fresno City Hall, where the city council was debating and ended up passing a city ordinance that criminalizes camping on public property, and to be more specific, sitting, lying, or sleeping. So really a draconian law that has proven to be ineffective in addressing homelessness, and there's another way of putting people out of sight, out of mind. So we went there in hopes of meeting up with the Fresno Homeless Union, which is led by Des Martinez, and she works with a lot of great other organizers, both housed and unhoused. And so, we went to the city hall. Some outside nonprofits brought some bagels and coffee. We kind of fueled up, talked about a game plan, then we went in there and all of the people kind of spoke in public comment for kind of around 2 to 3 hours, which is kind of followed, which is after another council meeting where there's 4 hours of public comment, and so just being able to kind of sit in the pews and watch everyone give passionate, fiery statement against a city council that has been reluctant to really roll up their sleeves and actually tackle this issue from an evidence-based perspective. And so it was really refreshing. Even though they passed it, they at least flipped the council president's vote. But I think a lot of this is with homeless union organizing, the nature of homelessness and activism within it. You're gonna experience more losses than wins, and even if you don't get any wins, it's the collectivity and the community that brings people together and empowers people, and the wins that you do get, you have to really kind of capitalize on those. And because even one win against the system that we're in is a surprise and rare, so that's what needs to be capitalized upon. And it's awesome. But yeah, so it was a great first day. But I went to Fresno City Hall, and then we really kind of followed Des around to see her do her daily work with her nonprofit, mutual aid, helping out a family facing eviction, attending advisory board meetings. We ended up getting dinner with her and her friend Crystal, who is also an organizer at Red Robin, and that was another opportunity for us to talk with kind of them and really get to know them as people. People first, organizer second. But as I found out, there's no mixing them. An organizer is an organizer, and an advocate is an advocate, and they never change, which is one of the reasons why she's so successful and so powerful. Is that it's not like a switch she turns on and off. That's her 24/7. And if you have ever met her, you know that. And so she's an inspiration. So it was a great way to start the trip. Kind of set the momentum and the standard for organizing going forward. Yeah, Sacramento was one of the places I knew the most about, I'd say. They've been in the Sacramento Bee the most that I've seen. They really covered a lot, partly because their tireless and ferocious leader, Crystal Sanchez, is really doing a lot. She juggles a lot, but they're also notable because of their establishment of Camp Resolution, which is kind of, say the details, a sanctioned encampment of RVs full of, about 40 to 60 unhoused people are kind of living there, and it's kind of self-organized. Each person has their own role. It's clean. They enforce rules. It's a very well-organized encampment, and it's there until each person is able to get permanent housing. So it's really another form of, way that people are able to organize against the city and prove to them that, we're a formidable force, and you need to pay attention to us because look, we're doing this incredible thing that a lot of other people couldn't do. And so I read about that, and I knew I wanted to see her and talk to her and talk to all the incredible residents who are leading the camp, like Sharon. And so we visited, went to, it's much bigger in person than you think, but it was awesome. We spoke with her, Sharon, a lot of other camp residents. We talked to lawyers who came in, which was awesome. But the issue is that they are in the process of getting evicted by the city, and so we were really kind of observing and sitting with them as they were kind of working against the clock to develop a strategy, whether it's using ADA accessibility claims that you can't evict them, or just working to figure out a plan forward to keep themselves in the encampment and not being evicted and just thrown somewhere else. So that was an opportunity to kind of see people roll up their sleeves and get the work done, and work together to figure out creative ways to, fight against the city. Yeah, Gilroy. So that was an interesting time. So it was my first time there. I had also kind of heard about, Robert's work, organizing with the Gilroy Homeless Union, the Santa Clara County Homeless Union, and different, areas within. So, and he also knew Willie Baptist, whom I've spoken with. So a great organizer who's been doing the work for a long time. And so we got lunch at El Pollo Loco in Gilroy. It was me, Wes, and then 4 other organizers who were with the union, combination of housed and unhoused people, and so it was interesting. They're very robust union. They have union dues. They have weekly meeting times. They, collectively decide different, ways to protest and organize. There's a heavy emphasis on leadership training, and so that was it's a smaller group, but they're just as formidable. And so it was great to speak with them, hear about their different experiences with the union, how they've utilized it to kind of form a force that, fights for their beliefs and their power. And but that was great. And all of those people are just incredible people. And we ended up picking Robert. He ended up joining us on our trips to Oakland and Vallejo, which are also 2 incredible opportunities. Both in Oakland, we went to the Homefulness gathering, unveiled their new tiny homes. Really sat in on some incredible presentations on the work they're doing. Talked with community organizers in the area. Got to watch an indigenous dance and prayer, which is something haven't seen before, and it was, you got to be there to see it, but it's really incredible, and you kind of feel the power. And the whole movement to taking land back and using it for good, and housing the vulnerable that was powerful, and that really motivated me as well. And then we went to the Vallejo Homeless Union, which is a recently formed union, which is that's a perspective that we haven't got yet, because they're week 3 or week 4, they're still planning on developing the leadership structure, voting on positions, deciding whether to implement dues, deciding how to organize. But their energy was contagious. They had 20 or so people, and you had people who are unhoused just walking along the street, and they were like, "Hey, can I join?" And that's what a union is about: being inclusive of everybody, representing their varied interests, and empowering people to feel that they can do something. A lot of people have been disempowered their whole life, disenfranchised, and that's why people are so perplexed when they hear a homeless union. They think it's an oxymoron, because it's such a unorganized population, which is why I was interested in the unions. But when you kind of look into it, you see it's an amazing movement, and the people were so excited, to finally be able to use their voice collectively. It was great, and so loved that experience. It was an interesting one. So we went down to Soledad, where there was a very sophisticated encampment that has been there for a long time, kind of at the outskirts of the city limits into the county and Caltrans private property area. So there's difficulty with jurisdictional issues. But we talked with some of the residents of the encampment. It's about 20 residents, 10 or so structures. So we spoke with them, a couple of their kind of leaders of the encampment. We spoke with some of an organizer named Sally who lives in the encampment but goes to every city council meeting, whether it's in person or on Zoom, and is really fierce when she advocates for. We had a city councilor who actually come with us to do outreach and talk with them, and she wasn't messing around. She wanted answers. The city has been inconsistent with their messaging when it comes to sweeps. They've been inconsistent with their messaging when it comes to emergency aid, and they've been inconsistent with their messaging when it comes to housing people in tiny homes that they've proclaimed. And so they wanted answers. They've built a sustainable community that's, if you see it, it's incredible. You have 2-story tree houses, electricity, food, but they still want housing. They do the best with what they can. These are incredible people, but that does not mean that they don't want housing. And so that's what they were kind of talking about, and that's what I heard. Is that, but with every union, every organized or unorganized encampment I've seen, they're fighters. If you're gonna be unhoused, you have to be a fighter. It's a crisis every day, but it's incredible how people do it. But these are the strongest people you'll ever meet when you actually get the chance to talk with them face to face, and so that was kind of just re-emphasized that notion when speaking with him and about how they've survived in these conditions, living along the river without any support or contact with the outside. And I'm hopeful that they can kind of get things done. The Soledad, claims to be one of the most progressive cities in the county. So let's see what they can do. Live up to the word.
Because they're still harassing people. How many reports of harassment did you hear from people?
I heard, Sally's dog was shot by the police and no remorse there. Another lady's dog was ran over by the police, no remorse there. Multiple accounts of the, Soledad police just coming in, telling people they're going to sweep them the next day and leaving them frantic, but then never coming. So just kind of, terrorize them, taking their property and claiming it's stolen with no evidence, and then having them come to the station to pick it up after it's proven it's not stolen, and then them being ridiculed by the officers as they laugh and destroy the property. It's horrendous, and it's once you kind of hear these stories, see what's going on, you can't really turn back. You can't really look away. It'd be inhuman not to look away. So. But it's heavy stuff. But the story needs to be told, and that's why I'm doing the research to not to give a handout, but to really empower people so they can tell a story. Not me. They know it best. I don't. And so my work is just organizing these unions, bringing attention to these movements, so that other people kind of are like, wow, these unions, they do stuff, they are organized, they have structure, they meet regularly, they have activities, they vote, they have dues. These are actual groups that make a huge difference in that, hey, people need to be looking at this. And then hopefully that's a path forward for people to get housed, people to voice their opinion, and people to make change, fight the system. So Santa Cruz, another great one. So that was another one that was a partnership between Food Not Bombs and a Santa Cruz Homeless Union. They've been going up and down with their activity, but it was really cool. They had a protest on the corner of an intersection, again, protesting sweeps, protesting the right to housing as a human right. I know it was really cool to meet Keith McHenry, who I've read his book of, man who started Food Not Bombs. But it was really cool it was a bunch of organizers there who were just, they had pastries and coffee and tea, but also signs for everyone. There was students, there was older gentlemen and women who had been protesting since the Vietnam War era. So, I learned there was a wealth of knowledge to be gained there, and I did my best to kind of soak it all up. But yeah, talked to a lot of different people, got Keith to sign my book, got a lot of, talked to a man who has a podcast. But yeah, again, it's interesting to see, organizers organize in a progressive area, but the area, not be as progressive as I thought, everything, is kind of to center right, no matter what people proclaim it as. So, But yeah, I mean, they're an enthusiastic bunch. They want to have change. They are eager for change, no matter their socioeconomic position. It's just a collective. So yeah, love Santa Cruz. Also went on the Santa Cruz Boardwalk, which was great, albeit a short experience to experience that culture, see what they're working with in the city.
San Rafael.
Yes, so that was kind of went there last night to catch the tail end of a city council meeting where they were discussing the creation of a sanctioned encampment. I mean, again, like most city council meetings, you see the tension between the unhoused organizers and advocates for people experiencing homelessness, and then you see the NIMBYs, property owners, people who are very against or they support affordable housing until it becomes in their backyard or area per se. But you see a lot of tension. People just don't want progress, and so that's what a lot of the organizers are fighting against. But met a lot of interesting, cool people there. Met Robbie, met Jason, met a lot of other organizers that work with them within the Marin County Homeless Union. And then the morning after, we got the opportunity to walk with Jason, who's an incredible guy when you speak with him. Walk with him through some of the major encampments in San Rafael. We talked about his experience, his story coming out of homelessness and reaching sobriety and now being a major organizer and service provider in the area. Trying to start change in his own way with others, but never switched up on his friends who he's been through it with. We talked about the homeless union, how they have union reps, how they achieved, how he started Camp Compassion, and now they have other camps that they were able to secure through settlements. Just emphasizing the importance of having the an attorney to back you to really support a union in litigation, because that's how you're really going to make change when you're fighting an uphill battle against powerful entities. So that was cool. We even got the opportunity to talk with 2 encampment residents who invited us into their tent. Great hospitality. Able to sit on the couch, had some air conditioning, got us fresh drinks, and really just sat down and talked with them. Talk about their experience. They, even though they couldn't come to the meeting, they were watching it on YouTube. So it just emphasizes that everyone is invested in the success. Everyone wants this issue to be solved. Everyone wants to be housed, and they're invested in this issue. People aren't just sitting by all day wasting away. They do what they can, and they are eager to get involved. And so that's another thing I learned. And again, incredible people with powerful drive and stories. Salinas. The other day, we went to Salinas. We were able to talk with a couple people who are experiencing homelessness in the area, but also some of them have organized with the union, work with their protests, weekly protests. So it's cool to hear their perspective. I definitely see how Salinas, the homeless union has existed here for a long time, but dealing with a lot of people are nervous about public outcry or public perception or just a notion of being in a union. It can be a big deal. It comes with a lot of responsibility which is hard to handle when you're battling a crisis every day and trying to get housed. So like I said, we saw that, and that was tough. But we also got a chance to sit down with people. Ate lunch, grabbed lunch at the local soup kitchen, and talk with some people about their experiences. That was awesome. And then we even got the opportunity to come back earlier today and talk with Rita, who's I also got her to sign the book I have of hers, and she's a legend in the field. Her and Wes have been doing incredible work in Salinas, from the Sherwood 28 to their weekly protests to really getting themselves a voice and representation in local government and local service provision. The progress that I've seen would not have been seen without them. The housing that they are in would not have happened without their organizing. And so just to see people who have achieved these real life gains, not just for themselves but for others, because that's what's important about these unions is, it's not just fighting for yourself. While that's very important, these people have a desire to fight for people beyond themselves. That's what makes an organizer an organizer, is they organize other people for the common good, because they care about more than just themselves. And so I saw that immediately with Rita, and she's a fighter. She gets creative with how she fights, and she never accepts no for an answer. She wants people to own up to what they've done and deliver lasting change. And I really respect that, and she was really cool. I mean, if my report goes well, and it's selected as successful, and it's well received, there's an opportunity to be awarded additional funding to pursue what I did in this couple months of research, more long term. Such as taking them, they'll give me a grant to do this research, over a year or longer. Develop a book out of it, develop more generalizable research out of it, and so I'm going to work really hard on it. Wes really gave me a lot of data and a lot of opportunities to collect data that is more than I could ever imagine. So I'm thrilled. It'll be a lot of work to get everything done, but this is the challenge I wanted, and I signed myself up for, and I know a lot of people are counting on such research. So yeah, the goal is that it goes well, it's received well, get some additional funding to pursue it further, and I'll be back here soon. Yeah, the fight continues, so whether I'm doing it or another person's doing it, the work will be done.